What's up, guys? Dr. Mo here, Digital Nomad Physician at digitalnomadphysician.com. So I did a video recently talking about some of the headaches that I dealt with when it came to the permitting process of my clinic. And I thought I would do one quick video about how I pick my clinic location and how to think about clinic location selection. So quite simply, the location of your clinic essentially becomes the advertising hub, the core of your advertisement for your medical practice. As I talk about in my online course, when you want to build a virtual medical practice, you don't have a physical space where people can come and see you, what we call signage. So if you don't have that, you're going to have to spend that same amount of money marketing your business online. My clinic is $1,625 a month, and it is on a pretty busy both driving street and walking street. So it's got plenty of signage. It is in a retail area of Long Beach, California, but all the shops are independent shops, so it gets plenty of good foot traffic. So one important aspect is that the $1,600 is essentially going to getting people to see my business. If I had an online medical practice, of course, I would have to spend $1,600 a month at least to get my name out. Now, alternatively, you can choose to have your medical practice in a place where there's a lot of other medical practices. If you're somebody who works well with others, as in you play well and play nice with others, then being in a large medical office building, you see those big towers, tons of medical office spaces, can be beneficial because the physical therapist, the acupuncturist, the gastroenterologist, the family medicine doctor, they might all refer patients to your particular niche practice. What's important is that your niche is understandable and they know what it is that you're doing. And of course, the fear might be, well, I might be in this big space where there's a lot of other specialists, but maybe they want to keep those patients to themselves. I would say most likely not. If I'm a family medicine doctor and I have a general family medicine practice, I probably just want to see family medicine patients. I don't want to do aesthetics. I don't want to deal with GLP-1s. I don't want to do any of that stuff. Not only does my staff not want to do prior authorizations, but we don't want to deal with figuring out cash prices and where we're going to be profitable. So if you're in the weight loss space, where a lot of people are these days, that's a great place to be because those people are all going to get referral to you. But if you're an injection clinic offering different types of injections like I've talked about, well, maybe the family medicine doctor is too busy to do it. Maybe the orthopedist doesn't want to do trigger injections. None of them do. Then they might send those patients over to you. You have a small office space and you're really getting your word of mouth. You're really getting your advertisement that way. So obviously, if you're in a medical office building, your zoning is pretty much figured out. If there is another built medical practice in that zone, it's quite unlikely that you wouldn't be in the right zone. The easiest thing is to call your city planning office and you can say, hey, this is the neighborhood I'm thinking about. And they usually pick up. Most places these days, actually, they have a person manning the phones and you can say, this is the address, 3403 East Broadway. Do they have the right zoning for me to open a medical practice there? Now, they'll be able to look that up for you. They'll even email you some links and things so you can do your own research afterwards, but they'll definitely tell you like, no, there's no way you can have a medical space there. Or yes, you can have a medical space there, but you need like 15 parking spaces if your office is larger than 1,500 square feet, or if you have more than 3 exam rooms. Each city is very different and unique. I picked my space specifically because I wanted some foot traffic, but I also picked my space because I wanted to be in an area where patients feel safe to go to. In this day and age, in 2025, a lot of our cities are also becoming foot traffic, not just for people who want to shop, but also foot traffic for those people who are homeless. And in that regard, some patients are just not going to feel safe being in that area. So you got to really consider that, especially if you're you might have evening hours and they got to park their car. They're not immediately next to your office. The concern, of course, with parking spaces is very understandable. I have no assigned parking spaces. People are just going to have to park on the street and come to me. But I am in a space for my clinic where there's a lot of local people with wealthy homes who are going to walk around that neighborhood. So I know that they can stumble into my clinic without a lot of problems. Unfortunately, in Long Beach, we do have pretty big growing homeless population. And it's not obviously the homelessness we're worried about. It's kind of the drug abuse that comes with it or drug use that comes with it and just being a bit unhinged. And so some people, I've witnessed some pretty concerning stuff, and I don't know how my customers are going to handle that. But for that reason, I've chosen my time very strategically of when I'm going to be open. I don't want to be open early in the morning when there's a lot of homeless people in that area. I don't want to be open later in the evening when it's going to get dark, where it's just people are not going to like it. It's going to feel unsafe. You can add lights like floodlights in front of your clinic so people feel safer. You can ask the block business owner to add lights all the way where the parking spaces are. But these are important things to consider. Signage is another one. Your building might have a sign space for you to put a sign, but the city may not give you permission. So that's another thing to talk about. City signage, you're going to have to go through the whole permitting process to do that. But that's another conversation to have with the city planning office, and they can give you some good ideas. I'll tell you right now, calling the city planning office for general stuff is okay. Once you get into the nitty gritty, it's like the DMV. Once it's something nuanced, no one has an answer. They're going to give you the runaround. You're going to have to call 20 times. It's very, very complicated. It's very difficult. It's very frustrating. Every business owner has to go through this. So it's one of those things that you're going to have to just kind of figure out as you do it. And finally, the last thing I'll say about your clinic space is to think about that clinic space, especially if you're leasing it, what changes you can make to it in the future. Can you add an extra exam room? Do you have enough space? If you add an extra exam room, do you have enough space on one side or the other side, enough walking space? Because when you spend $15,000, $50,000 on any kind of renovation, the city is going to ask you to put a certain percentage towards ADA compliant changes. And if you spend $50,000 and let's say 20%, which is $10,000, has to go towards ADA compliancy, well, they might say you're going to have, we can't let you put this room at this size because it's going to take up the hallway. The hallway has to be minimum 48 inches. So those are things to consider. What kind of layout changes can you make? My easiest go-to thing is to take the measurements of the clinic, give it to somebody on Fiverr who does clinic design or whatever, and they can give me some special layouts, and I tell them, like, make sure that it is also ADA compliant. Usually costs me less than $100, $150 to do that. That's kind of how I pick this space. Bonus, if you get a clinic space and you're not exactly sure if you're going to continue with it, if you're going to like it, if you don't want to do it, if you want to do it, if you have an extra exam room, then you can always lease that out to another physician, to another clinician, nurse practitioner, naturopathic doctor, podiatrist, acupuncturist, ultrasound tech. And that can be a great way for you to get some resource, some revenue from your clinic. And also, if you end up not wanting to run this clinic, but you have the lease for 3 years, you could just lease out the space. So even if you put in all the effort and time to convert this space into and get it licensed and appropriately permitted for what's called change of use permit from, let's say, when it was retail to a medical clinic, you can still lease that out. So remember that. You can always sublease. Most landlords will let you do that. Take care, guys.